Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of the Treehouse Podcast. With me, as always, is the fantastic de facto leader of Blue Squad, Gregg Yasuda, and the one... Hey, how you doing? And the occasional ladies killer, but mostly hit and miss, Nate Fuentes. How you doing, Nate?
What's up?
Awesome. As for me, my team kill streak is so far 3-3, so we'll see how we keep on going. My name's Wilk, and welcome back to another episode of the Treehouse Podcast. This time, RTX Revision Remix Edition. All right, so let's see. Let's get this thing started. For those who are unfamiliar with the SLO Treehouse Podcast, for those who, like I said, are unfamiliar, it's sort of a semi-regular podcast that works as a after hours to the unofficial APO-ZO podcast. And here on, instead of talking about Alpha Omega, we pretty much chat about whatever we've been doing, some cool stuff, if the case. And we've got two awesome gentlemen who have just returned fresh from two excellently awesome events. Nate, you want to get the ball rolling with, I heard you just got back from a JPOP Summit.
Yeah, actually I did. As of last week, there was JPOP Summit here in San Francisco at Fort Mason Center. It's pretty much like another one of those excuses to have like anime-related stuff, but in general it was actually pretty sweet. Like lots of artists and just performers and stuff like that, and got to pretty much meet all of them, which was pretty awesome. As well as like get like artist signatures and just take pictures and just chill. It was actually pretty cool. Each night ended with a concert, and I guess to be really brief, one of the groups I didn't really know who they were. Akshay knows the group. It's called Jam Project. They do like a lot of openings and endings for like shonen animes. I guess One Piece in particular.
Very cool.
They have a new song coming up for this manga called One Punch Man. That's.
I know that manga. That's an awesome comic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently
there's going to be an anime coming up in October. I took a look at it. It's pretty funny. Like, I mean, it's literally about a guy who pretty much ends every single fight in one punch, and he just starts questioning his existence and like really.
Yeah, it's an excellent comic. It's sort of if you don't mind me jumping in, I had heard about this a while back and read a bunch of the mangas. It's sort of a pastiche on superheroes. They have some takes on like Captain Urstatz's of like Superman and occasional just anime characters. But the main character is a guy, as you said, who can basically defeat absolutely anything, whether it's a meteorite or a superpowered radioactive monster with one hit. And he's basically becoming despondent because he doesn't have any challenge in life. But we'll see how that goes. That's cool. I didn't know they're going to be turning into an anime, but if anything was to be turned out into something, that'll be go.
Yeah.
Do you know who's going to be sort of taking point on that? Which studio is going to be?
Oh, the studio is it's going to be a Viz thing, just because it's like Viz manga.
All right, fair enough.
And I guess it's Madhouse, so like it looks like it could be good. So that's I guess like a sort of heads up thing that I learned this past weekend, and then
cool.
a couple of other events that are coming up that I'm kind of questioning, like Sacanime is at the beginning of September, TwitchCon is at the end of September, and then Gregg and I are also going to PlayStation Experience in December, which is also in San Francisco. So those should be cool. Yeah. So I'm going to pass it on to Gregg to talk about RTX.
Awesome. Right. So how you doing, Gregg?
Good. How are you guys doing?
I heard Houston was pretty warm.
I was actually in Austin, but...
Texas, yeah.
It's weird about Texas, like the Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, and Austin. They're like all within like 60 to 100 miles of each other.
Austin jokes. Shout out to Austin.
Shout out to Austin the One. I made a lot of Austin jokes, which got old really, really, really fast. So.
Oh well.
Anyways, what did I do at RTX? RTX is the Rooster Teeth Expo. Their convention is based in Austin, Texas. It was last weekend. It started on, did it start? No, it's the 7th through the 9th. And pretty much like what people go there for is like your kind of passion and love for everything Rooster Teeth, pretty much, which includes but is not limited to the Red versus Blue series, which is their claim to fame. Some of the stuff they do in animation, which includes RWBY and X-Ray and Vav. Some of their artsy shorts and animations. A big part of it was actually Achievement Hunter and Funhouse, where those two faced off in Rainbow Six Siege, which is you can find on YouTube. It was a really good video. The things that I did primarily, you would think I went to like the Red versus Blue stuff, but I'm as someone who's like done Comic-Con, and you guys have been to Comic-Con, that culture from Comic-Con, I'm not sure if it carried over, but I noticed that it was a lot of people's first time at RTX, and I think that culture from different conventions carried over where people just want to line up for things. And so the first day I was there was like Friday, and I wanted to see the RWBY panel, and it was at 10 a.m. It was at the hotel I was staying at, so that was good. So it was at 10 a.m. So I was like, I'll show up an hour before, because they said you can't line up more than an hour before the convention. But what ends up happening is like you go there and they have like their guardians, which is like their volunteers, and they say, oh, you guys can start lining up at 9 o'clock. So I got down there at like 8:45, and I was hanging out, and like more and more people just started congregating, and it was like at some point it was a fire hazard for the lobby of the hotel, because you can't tell them to line up, but they're just gonna it's like a bunch of sharks just surrounding a pool.
There's blood in the water.
Exactly, and like
oh man,
the Guardians don't know what to do, so it's like eventually by Sunday they figured it out and they pushed them all outside. But yeah, it was interesting to watch. But anyways, I got in. I saw the RWBY panel. Really great panel. They announced stuff for season 3 of RWBY.
Nice.
Small tribute to Monty Ohm, who recently passed away in February. And he was the creator of that show, and he also directed seasons, I want to say 8 through 12 or 13 of Red vs. Blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, really great panel. What else did I do? I didn't really see a lot of Red vs. Blue stuff, because after waiting for one panel, I wasn't really sure if that's what I wanted to do the rest of the weekend. A lot of the rest of the weekend I did spend looking at smaller panels. I went to the Kind of Funny panel, and those guys are 4 guys who are former IGN editors who quit their jobs in January and started their own YouTube and whatever. So they had their own panel. They had Gus Sorolla on it, who was kind of giving them advice as someone who was prolific in the internet.
A seasoned internet personality.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which that's an odd thing to say. That's your job, but whatever works, right?
Exactly. Yeah. What else did I do? There's a concert, and the concert kind of was really evidence that like the line culture is definitely a part of Austin, Texas, and just a part of conventions in general. Because I got to there's a line for the concert, and I was there like 2.5 hours early from when they were going to open the doors. And this is outside in like the Austin sun. It was like 100 degrees outside. Anyways, so imagine on one side of the block of a street. That's where the entrance is. I was around the corner a little bit, and we started like flooding in front of the Intercontinental Hotel on I think it was on 7th and Congress, and the Intercontinental Hotel, you could tell they started being like they didn't want this here, so they tried to get the Guardians to move the line to the other side of the block or whatever. Turns out like by about like a minute before they let us in, the line had stretched all the way around the block, in front of the hotel, anyways, and to where the entrance of the venue was.
Oh, jeez.
So I was listening to the RT podcast, the recent one, and they said that 3/4 of a city block of people is 1,500 people.
Oh, Jesus.
So there's 1,500 plus people in line for that, and I think I got ticket 102 or something like that. So met some very, very kind gentlemen from Scotland who were absolutely just dying in the Texas sun. And they just did not understand why people live here. The concert was great. Jeff Williams performed, Video Game Orchestra performed, and the Bare Naked Ladies performed.
Very cool.
All very, very cool. I posted a couple of videos on my YouTube channel, and I guess I'll put them in the show notes later. The floor of this convention was, I guess, as you'd expect it. A lot of booths, a lot of stuff to buy. I think the interesting part was they have the main stage on the floor, which is like giant screen, giant stage, and you can sit in the front or you can stand. And they were showing like Achievement Hunter was up there, Funhouse was up there playing Rainbow Six Siege. They had Joel and Adam do their how-to up there.
Oh, awesome! My personal favorite.
So I didn't have
sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's cool. But yeah, I didn't have to line up for that, so I just got to watch them play Alien Isolation, which was really funny.
Oh, that's cool.
I had a great time. You got to really like Rooster Teeth stuff to be there, but it was cool just walking around Austin, seeing the city. I ran into Freddie Wong at this fried chicken place.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I went to get fried chicken at Gus's Fried Chicken because I found it on Yelp, and I was in between panels, and I just walked in there, and then I got it. I ordered my food, and I was waiting around, and then Freddie W walked in, and I was like, holy shit. And it's like such a small convention that like it's not super crowded, so it was like me and this other guy, and we just like talked to him for a bit, so that was cool.
Nice.
Did you get a picture?
No, I didn't get a picture. I was already kind of like
Starstruck.
I was too starstruck. I was like, oh god, he's gone. I don't want to be that guy.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Oh well. You'll always have your memories.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's cool. That's very cool.
Anyways,
Awesome.
that kind of
Well, a couple quick questions for you, if unless you got any other things to add. How did it stack up against, like, you've been to a bunch of other conventions, but this is your first time at RTX.
Yes.
How was this? I've heard that it's a lot more personal on a closer knit convention than the other sort of large scale, mass produced items. Obviously, there are going to be some similarities, lines notwithstanding. But how did you find it as it related to other ones?
I can definitely agree with like how personal everything felt. It was less crowded, but that's just the nature of the convention. There's just less people there. I think the way that they were doing badges was better, and that also might be a result of there just not being as many people there. So you get a badge, it's like not very unsimilar to the Comic-Con badge, but there's like an RFID strip in it. So to get into the floor or to get into anything, they had guys scanning your badges using radio frequency IDs, and it was very interesting. Like they had like these. It's kind of like if you've been on rapid transit or BART in the Bay Area, it's kind of like that, except with your pass, you just scan it, you hold it down face down, and it green lights and lets you in.
Oh, cool.
I'm surprised they went that far for like RTX. Like, I mean, obviously, it's a very kind of niche convention.
Yeah,
like,
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure if they tried it before or not, but I was just thinking, I was like, that's really forward thinking for something that kind of small.
Yeah.
So
they might just be thinking ahead of time, or they might just be the first convention to start doing that on a larger scale. I've heard other conventions are going to start making security a little bit tighter, making it a little difficult for fellows like me to,
just waltz
get
in.
No, it's actually kind of funny that you mentioned that. I just remembered that, like, at our at JPOP Summit, like, we were waiting in line like very, very early just because we really wanted to get like signatures from these artists. And so I had Will call, and like we were panicking because like my other friends had a QR code, and I had to go in to check up with the desk, and they had to pull up my information. Well, basically they couldn't pull up my information, and I was just like, what the hell? Like I got here early, and all these people are online already. So they basically just let me go, and I came back just based on my word. They're like, oh yeah, you can just come back and see if we can figure it out then. And
Nice.
so I went, I got my stuff, and then I came back, and then they're like, oh yeah, good thing you're here, you're back. And then they keep trying to check it again, and then they're like, screw it, we're just gonna let you in. And then the very next day, I realized, wait a minute, they didn't actually type down my information, so like we had another one of our other friends show up later, and I just gave him my like phone, and then like he showed it to them, and they couldn't check it again, so he got in for free.
That's funny.
So it's just
there
like
you go.
different cons. I don't even. JPOP Summit wasn't really a con because it had like a sake summit too, which was also pretty cool. Trying $100 sake is awesome. So yeah,
That does sound like something I would enjoy. Yeah.
Yeah,
Very, very cool.
$35 for like 10 samples of $100+ sake. That's always legit.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Very
Sorry
cool.
to detract, but yeah, that was awesome.
No worries. Hey, it's all part of the experience. Although alcohol is almost always somewhat worked into Rooster Teeth, so pretty sure that somehow came up. So, you guys both gave some cool, some summed up experiences of it all, some good times. But if you could pick one highlight of both of your experiences, what would it be for this past awesome convention?
Nate?
For me, I mean, it would be running into two like of the groups I really, really like. One is Fem, which is they're sort of like EDM-y. Like I don't even feel like they're J-pop. Like I mean, all of their songs are in English, and they're only J-pop because they're actually Japanese. So getting to run into them like a million times during the weekend was kind of cool. And then also running into another band, Gottschalk Spin, whose lead singer is a drummer. That's pretty hot. I mean, just yeah, as a side note. Anyway, but yeah, that was pretty awesome. Just in general, having such a laid-back experience and being able to just get up close and personal with the artist.
Very cool.
Yeah.
How about you, Greg?
Most memorable, or what was the question?
Well, just like if you could pick the high point of the convention, if you can pick one, if not, pick a couple.
High points. My high point was probably doing one of the autographs I had, and it was with the Kind of Funny guys, and I got to talk to Greg Miller, who was with IGN, and he's like super big on PlayStation, and I just talking PlayStation, the Vita, and everything, and I got them to sign the back of my Vita, so that was a pretty high point for me. It was nothing super important or glamorous, but it meant a lot to me.
That is cool. I mean, it's a more personal thing. You got to chat with them for a little bit. Yeah, that's awesome. Very, very cool. Awesome. All right. So, any other last little comments you want to make? Are you guys planning on returning next year?
If they have it next year. It was definitely run a lot better this year, this J-pop summit. So, here's hoping.
It depends when it is. RTX is typically in July, but if it's in August again, I don't see why I couldn't, but I'd prefer it if it was in July.
All right, cool. Depending on time. All right, well, definitely something to consider. So great, glad you guys had fun. On my end of the spectrum, I pretty much had a pretty laid-back time, didn't go anywhere and exciting. Instead, decided to curl up with a good book, and then I found out, to my great dismay, that one of my favorite books, based on real events, is actually being turned into a movie starring Leonardo DiCaprio. I didn't know if you guys have heard about this. The Devil in the White City was a book I was a huge fan of, both the audio version and the text, plain old black and white word cover, based on the 1893 World's Fair that was held in Chicago. And at the same time, there was a this man who's known as America's first serial killer, Dr. Herman Mudge, or actually he pretended to be a doctor. He wasn't actually a doctor. Herman Mudgett, more commonly known as Henry H. Holmes, Dr. Henry H. Holmes, prowled the street and was running around killing people. So it's kind of a horrifying, interesting thing. This book that is written is completely factual, intersects parts of the construction of the world's one of the biggest, and some people arguably call it the last great World's Fair, where there was so much going on. Amazing names like Tesla, Edison, Mark Twain, Daniel Burnham, Frederick Law Olmsted were all made appearances at this great, either in creating it or taking part in the festivities. And at the same time, there's this horrible, sinister ongoings where the Windy City, also known as Chicago, had this predator stalking the street. So it's a very, very fascinating book, and it's going to be dramatized and turned into either an absolute piece of crap movie or a big blockbuster. Who knows? So I was a little despondent about that. But the book is very good. Highly recommend for those who have a interest in the history of Chicago and some of the, or if you just like reading about serial killers. And Dexter is no longer on the air, so who knows? And Hannibal either. So
that's based on fact.
It's true, absolute true story. Yeah.
Huh.
Herman Mudgett was a real life person. When he was eventually caught, he never got a full estimate of how big his kill count was, but he claimed he had over 100 people killed to his name. And since there weren't exactly high-tech sort of counterintelligence to track serial killers down at the time, a lot of people just seemed to have disappeared, which was terrifying. But it was a very, very fascinating read. And I originally got into it because of the landscape design. Frederick Law Olmsted was also known as the father of landscape architecture, was heavily involved in the design of the Chicago World's Fair at the time. But it quickly the spotlight was stolen by the horrifying serial killer / pharmacist, that is Dr. Henry H. Holmes.
It's kind of funny just imagining a con with a whole bunch of, I guess in their day it was like a con with like Thomas Edison and.
It was a huge convention. They had all these like famous. Yeah, and it was not a murder, lots of murderers.
Yeah.
Women were just disappearing off the streets, and occasionally people would just be like, "Oh, she just went home" or something, and it was a very shady time. Huh. But yeah, good book. So on that regard, so we've got a little bit more time, but before we dive into our last section of the podcast, we have our latest not unsponsor. This episode is not brought to you by the Intergalactic Griffball League. Tune in to UNSN Sports on Channel 117 for the latest, greatest matchups. Remember, it's only fun and games if someone's getting hurt. That's Griffball for you. Alrighty, so let's dive right into the last and final chapter of this episode of the Treehouse Podcast. Nerd Suggestion Box. This time, last episode, if you recall, a few potential animes were put up for the count. The title of this one is Zankyou, but no thank you, or How I Stopped Worrying and Learned to Hate the Bombing. The anime that was suggested by Nate was called Zankyou no Terror, or Terror in Tokyo. I watched the full season, and it was an interesting thing, so I lived up to my end of the bargain. Nate, why don't you go ahead and re-sum up what you liked about that anime and why you wanted to put it up for suggestion?
I thought in general, like, again, it's been a while since I watched it, but I thought in general it was pretty, like, poetic. And, like, at first it really didn't feel like it had, like, it didn't feel like a standard anime. Like, I mean, it had those little, like, anime sort of tropes and stuff like that, but in general it felt more of like it was a thriller than anything. And just visually I thought it was pretty like appealing, and it was pretty gritty. Like, it wasn't like your standard sort of super colorful and just girls with humongous eyes shooting magic wands. So yeah, like
Mhm.
I thought it was pretty just different. Like that's what I kind of liked about it. So yeah. I
All right,
guess
well,
yeah. Oh god.
all right. Well, thanks. That's a good way of putting it. For the counterpoint, for me, I actually have to agree with a lot of Nate's comments. It certainly was not your typical run-of-the-mill anime. It had a lot of great art. There's a lot of good detail put into that. It was very beautifully rendered. However, you're talking to someone who was born in New York City, and part of the part of the promotional art are the three main characters standing in front of two twin buildings on fire. So that was a little bit of a a tripping hazard for me. And then basically what it came down to was the protagonists that you're supposed to be rooting for are legitimate terrorists blowing up bombs in a very, very crowded Tokyo, somehow miraculously managing to avoid casualties. Oh yeah, that'll happen in reality. This anime kind of seemed to glamorize places like, oh, the Boston bombing or the Columbia shooting or, oh yeah, Virginia Tech. I'm sorry. So it was a little bit of a sore point for someone who had a little bit of familiarity. That said, they did a whole lot of research, made it seem very compelling in their regard, but I'm sorry, the whole concept of freedom fighters are just, they're freedom fighters, not terrorists. Yeah, they fight for what's right. Yeah, these people got screwed. Are you going to start blowing up buildings and trains to start proving your point? Is a little bit on the edgy side. And so, like I said, Zankyou, but no thank you. Closing point. Anything else you want to add to that, Nate?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Like it was definitely like one of those like kind of close to reality type situations, and like I mean, not to mention the fact that like they kind of threw in a little weird curveball like of a character in the middle, which kind of also I think in a way detached from like the storytelling. I'm referring to Five.
Oh yeah, Five. Okay, yeah. I mean, no, if for those of you who are worried we're going to spoil it for you, well, tough titties, because we are. Main characters are known as 9, 12, and one of their main antagonists is 5. And these were all kids who were raised in basically a frightening orphanage of terror where they were pumped full of drugs to be the next generation of genii. And yes, that's the right term. Genius, the genius, plural genius is genii. Anyway, so they all basically start going nuts and hated their experiment, and the two of them who managed to escape, 9 and 12, go on this incredible bombing spree across Japan, culminating in a nuclear bomb being detonated over Tokyo. I'm not fucking around. That's the end of the series. True, they tried to avoid casualties, but it ends up resulting in an EMP, then not a nuclear blast. But still, how many people do you think were on life support? How many people who are on planes or in cars who ended up getting crashed, or just end up getting trampled in the ongoing panic that was going on because there's a fucking nuclear bomb over your head?
I think.
So yeah.
I think it was like figurative though. Like I think they didn't actually have a nuclear bomb. Like the biggest bomb that they had was the information explosion. So yeah. Yeah. Okay. You gotta go watch it again because they had a literal plutonium bomb that they had stolen from the Tokyo government. That's not to say that anyone is in the right. There are always two sides to the right thing. The terrorists are fighting a very corrupt government system, but if you are the ones who thinks that the best way to expose information is by blowing things up, casualties or not, a little bit less so. Anyway, so that's me, and that's my regard. That said, I gotta highly recommend the series to those who enjoy sort of intrigue. It is very focused on a lot of those things. It may have left me with a bit of a sour taste in my mouth, but there was a lot of research, a lot of effort went into this series, and it is not your run-of-the-mill Sailor Moon or Dragon Ball Z sort of thing. So it is a unique
unique anime. Just be careful what you're getting into. A little bit of a shock to someone like myself.
Yeah. Oh well, again, like I think what it was they stole the thing. They didn't actually have any intention of actually exploding it, and instead they set off that EMP. That's what I meant. Like I don't think they actually intended on just seriously just bombing the hell out of Tokyo. So.
Well, whatever the case may be, it's bombs.
Yeah, it's definitely still edgy.
Yeah, it is a little bit on the edgy and terrifying side. They do a lot of research to be able to be factually accurate. Their hacking methods that they do are pretty impressive. So, hey, at least they looked up that sort of information. But that said, if you're looking for something, a feel-good anime, this is not something to watch. All right, so that's pretty much it for the last time. Thank you again, Nate, for recommending it. Well, like I said before, just because it wasn't my cup of tea doesn't necessarily mean I don't recommend it. If you are someone who enjoys that sort of thing, maybe it'll be something that you can enjoy. All right, so in that regard, let's leave one more thing, because Gregg was the one who made the initial suggestion of the Clone Wars. Nate included this one of anime of Zankyou no Terror. I believe it is my turn if I'm counting fair and fair. Anyone have any disagreements, or are not willing to play along for this time round?
No, man, go for it.
Go ahead.
Awesome, cool. Well, for my turn, I'm going to choose something a little bit, let's throw things on for a little bit of a curve. There is this ongoing series, maybe you guys have already heard of it, called Steven Universe. Are you guys any fans of that show?
Is that the one with the horse? No, wait, that's Bojango something.
No, that's Bojack, or whatever the case may be.
Bojack Horseman.
No,
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that is a little different. But Steven Universe is a legitimate children's cartoon, not a cartoon made for adults and making fun of children's cartoons. It is a awesome show, if I may say so myself. Without telling too much about the cartoon, because hopefully you guys will watch it yourself, it's this excellent animated television series created by Rebecca Sugar. And for those of you who do not know that name, she was one of the lead writers and people involved with Adventure Time, and she actually helped Pendleton Ward, the main creator, write a lot of his things. And this is the first ever show on the Cartoon Network that has been created from the ideas and currently headed by a woman. So that's an interesting thing. But it's an excellent feel-good show. The first couple episodes are sort of like a zany sort of monster of the week, little fun thing. But it quickly becomes a much more intriguing, full world with a complete and enriched experience. So I highly recommend it. Each episode is only 11 minutes long, and it's very easy to get swept up into the adventure. So I highly recommend it. Season 2 is ongoing at the moment. I just recently watched a few of the episodes. They are excellent, so there's been no delay in quality. So if you guys are in for a treat, if you guys start watching in Season 1, and you can watch all the way up to the end of Season 2, hopefully along with me, because they just got renewed for another 50 episodes. So, hoo-ah! So yeah, it is currently available on the Cartoon Network, as I said before, and it is very, very fun. Bright, cheerful, but with a lot of other development that's going on. So that about wraps it up from the Nerd Suggestion Box. Any other closing things that you'd like to add, as I think we're winding down to the end of this RTX Remix 4th episode of the Treehouse Podcast?
I think I'm good.
Non-particular.
Awesome, cool.
Just go to the PlayStation experience. That'll be dope. $60.
Yeah.
So.
I will definitely have to consider it, especially since I am probably going to be getting a PlayStation sometime soon. PS4, all of my own. If nothing else, because Fallout's coming out very, very soon. Excellent. All right. Well, gentlemen, you guys want to put in a plug on where people can find you on the internet?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yes, no, maybe.
I actually just reinstalled Instagram for the purpose of posting pictures from shows. So if you like anything from
awesome
EDM, alternative rock, or rap, my Instagram is Come On Nate. That's also my Snapchat. So upcoming events that I have are Mad Decent Block Party in Berkeley and Cascade, and ASAP Rocky and Tyler the Creator. So if you want to see some Hood Rat stuff on Instagram, there you go.
Very cool.
If you want to find me on the internet, you can find me on Twitter at Yasuda. That's at Y0S0DA. You can also listen to the APOZO podcast, which is another show that me and Alex do from time to time. So keep an eye out for that. Yeah.
Awesome. As for me, like Gregg just said, you can find me on the APOZO podcast, and of course, tune in for our following episode for the next Treehouse podcast whenever we end up putting it back on. Thanks again, and have a great day and a great life.
Bye.
Bye.